Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut. Hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. As you know, the Mets got swept this past weekend against the homeless A's. I know people don't understand. People leaving comments on my Facebook page that it's embarrassing. It's just 3 games in a 162 game season. It's no big deal. I will say this: the Mets do not match up well against the Rays. A lot of Met kills on that team, and there've been Met kills on that team in the past, so it doesn't necessarily surprise me. I kind of had that feeling on Friday that they were probably going to get swept. The Met pitching is taking a step back. You know the injury to Dakota Senga, he's going to be out 5 weeks. Guys like Griffin Canning have sort of come down to earth a little bit. Tyler McGill is a disaster. I was really hoping the Mets would have traded him in the offseason before we got to this point. I am not a big fan of his. I don't think that he's any good. I think the only time he pitches well is in April, and the rest of the season is a disaster. Between the walks, between the home runs, between the not being able to get through an inning, it drives you crazy. And it's always the same result. But if it's April, he pitches great. And then you get stupid things, and it's very rare does Gary say stupid things. That's Gary Cohen saying that he's a superstar. He's not a superstar. Far from it. He's a tease. And that's what he's been his whole career with the Mets. I would mention when he started the no-hitter 3 years ago, it was in April. End of April. It was in May when it happened. when it came close. But a pitcher and a name, a very legendary name, popped up because the Texas Rangers have not played well this year. They're struggling offensively. And that's Jacob deGrom. Now, I would mention about Jake, he has a no-trade clause, so he can refuse any trade to any team. Let me read you this article. Basically, he's telling you it's not going to happen, and it's just not. It's from Sporting News. Jacob deGrom predicted to refuse trade reunion with the Mets. I think that's pretty obvious. New York Mets took back the best record in the National League with a series sweep over the division rival Washington Nationals, but that victory came with a harsh loss. Trying to rein. Well, we know what happened with Senga. We'll skip that part. The Mets are uniquely equipped to withstand the loss of a starter, as they have some significant rotation depth with the likes of Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea looking to make their own returns from injury soon. But any setback of the recovering arms or a new injury could suddenly force the Mets to consider an external upgrade. In a recent episode of the Mets pod, the hosts projected whether they could mean a trade reunion with Texas Rangers ace Jacob deGrom, who won 2 Cy Young awards with the Mets early in his career. Quote, I don't think deGrom would waive his no-trade clause under any circumstances to come back to New York, predicted host Joe DeMaio when asked about a potential trade bringing deGrom back to the Mets. I don't think Jacob deGrom had any interest in staying in New York. I think he's very happy in Texas. Now, I would mention, I've said this when he was here, that he did not like what was going on in New York City. And 3 years later, New York is not as good as, it's just not that great either. 3 years later, after 22, when he finally decided to leave, he nothing has gotten better here in the city. I don't think it's the team. I don't think it's the organization. I don't really think it's the new ownership. They're not new anymore. But I don't think it was the change in ownership that was the problem with Jake. I think the problem was he didn't want his family here. And he has a young family. He didn't want them to be around this nonsense, this thing with Pride Night, all this nonsense. The Rangers are the only team that doesn't celebrate that satanic Pride Night and Pride during the month of June. I think that's part of why he didn't want his children around. Plus, he's a conservative guy. And he doesn't. I don't think he really cared for the New York media per se. I think the media, he tolerates it, but the New York media, I don't think he really cared for them. I think he was making fun of them. I think he was the one behind the sort of the okay thing. It wasn't from years ago, but that's water under the bridge. But he wasn't too happy with being in New York, and he wanted to get out of the toxic situation that's here. And it's not a great situation still. And it's going to take a long time for somebody to come in here and clean New York City. And it's not under this new mayor. Even with this mayor, Adams, it's still not going to be it's not going to be clean. It's going to get worse. So he didn't want any part of that. But he has a lot of money still coming to him. Very few teams are going to want to touch him. Maybe the Dodgers. But again, you have the same situation there. I don't think any big market team he has any interest in going to. You know, I really don't see him going. I don't see him wanting to go to Los Angeles. I don't see him wanting to go to Chicago. I don't see him wanting to go to Toronto or any of the New York teams, or even Boston for that matter. I think that he will play out his contract here and probably finish his career with the Rangers and just fill in his numbers, and then eventually he'll get in the Hall of Fame as a Met. But he has to stay healthy. I mean, he's got 2 more years on his contract, and I think he's going to retire. I don't think he has too many more years ahead of him, to be honest with you. Which is not a bad career as a 12-year career, 13-year career. It's a very good career. And he's done a lot in his career. He needs to build more. He needs to have a solid year this year, and he has had that. He's pitched really well. But I don't see him ever coming back to the Mets. So if you think that he's going to come back, you're fooling yourselves. And again, I would mention I was the only Met YouTuber that talked about it. I was the only person that was openly saying why he was going to leave. And now you got guys like Joe DeMaio saying it was basically because he didn't want to be in New York. It didn't do with the team. The team was a 101-win team. The organization's going in the right direction. He just didn't want to be part of this insanity that's going on in the city. He's a small-town kid. He wanted to go someplace, one closer to home. Well, I don't think that was that big of a deal because he's with the Mets for a long time. But that's it. You know, he's never coming back, and that's fine. You move on, but it'll be interesting to see where the Mets go. I do think that they're going to try to get another hitter in this lineup. This team needs another bat in this lineup, in my opinion. It could be from any different place, either in the outfield or as a designated hitter, or even an infielder. They need an everyday player here to help this situation out. They get too many young players that they're relying on in this lineup. They could use another veteran bat, to be honest with you. And I think at the rate they're going, they could use another starter, but we'll see what happens once Manaea comes back in particular, and see how the rest of this rotation fills out a little bit. I'm not big on Blackburn. I know he's going to pitch on Wednesday. David Peterson is great. Just leave him there. Hopefully he stays healthy. But and I do know that they are looking at big arms for the back end of this bullpen. Because they need first of all, they need to replace Ryan Stanek. I think now I understand why he's bouncing around a little bit. He's a little too hot and cold, in my opinion. And certain teams sort of he sees the fear of God in himself when he has to deal with the Nationals. So I think certain teams are under his skin. I think you need to improve that situation. So keep an eye on Kenley Jansen. That's a guy to keep an eye on. A guy that they can plug in there late in the game. And if you have Edwin Diaz pitching a lot of games in a row, you can throw him in there to close out a game. But that's the kind of stuff I'm looking at for the Mets. It's not going to be stuff that's going to be like earth-shattering, like Rafael Devers. Did you see that? Oh, my God. Rafael Devers got traded, boy, oh boy, to the Giants of all teams. The Giants are in great shape in terms of just where they are, and the Red Sox are in good shape too, to be honest with you. They got rid of all that money, and they can really do things to really improve that ball club, spread the money out. That's a situation you have to spread the money out. So thank you for watching this video, and of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut on YouTube, on Substack, follow me on Facebook, and I'll see you later.